Let's continue section 1.9. We're still evaluating and simplifying expressions. We have some definitions in this section, and in this case, we do actually use some of the symbols that are given to us. In previous ones, we were just given a value of a mathematical symbol. In this case, we're learning to use this symbol. So we have, this is a Greek capital math symbol, sigma, for sum or total. F, so we see this little f, is a variable that represents frequency. The frequency counts how many times a data value occurred. And lastly, we have n. It says n is a variable that represents the number of data values. I love this section because we're learning to read tables. And it's so important to read tables because oftentimes it feels maybe a little overwhelming and you might not know what to do. But if you just pause and take in the table, it tells you exactly what to do. Let's analyze. It says number 1, data was collected on the number of sick days per year. The number of sick days taken by employees is represented by X. The frequency represents how many employees took X number of sick days. Complete the table by answering parts A through D. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to label the things that I learned about. So X represented the number of sick days taken by an employee. I like having that next to the table instead of having to look through the paragraph to read it. And the F represents how many employees took that many days. So number of employees that took X days. So I'm going to pause right here before I go on to answering questions. This is the way I've always expected you to read a table, is you want to stop and make a sentence to see if you understand it. So if I pick any random value, let's pick 2 and 4. This says that 4 employees took 2 sick days. Now I feel like I understand it and I'm ready to move forward with some questions. We're going to finish filling out the table. It says, let the number of data values n be equal to the sum of the frequencies. Right, so you have to remember how to read this. This is the sum. So it says n is the sum of frequencies. And not only do you know how to read it because you just learned what the symbols are, it also usually tells you in the sentence. Use the table to find n. So what are we going to do? We're going to sum the frequencies. N is equal to 5, sum means add, 15, 4, now this doesn't go anywhere on the table. This was asking me to find n because we're about to use it. It says let the relative frequency, right? So this is relative frequency. Let the relative frequency represent how often each frequency occurs when compared to the total. Label the third row as relative frequency and complete the entire row. So we have a new label for this. This is called our relative frequency. And we are going to complete the entire row. How do we complete it? Well, we know what F is. F is in the first little column, F is 5. And we know what N is. N is 80. And so now we're just left to simplify. 5 over 80 has a 5 in common for both the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to divide by 5 on the numerator, that's 1. And divide by 5 on the 80, that's 16. And we're going to do this for the whole entire thing. Ready? So in this frequency, it's going to be 15 over 80. So it's going to be 15 is divided by 5, that's 3, and 80 is divided by 5, that's 16. 4 over 80, we have a divisible by 4, that's going to be 1, and this is going to be 20. 16 over 80, they're both going to be divisible by 16. If you don't see the 16, then start by 2 and keep going. So this is going to be 1/5. Use your calculator, use any means you have available. 8 over 80, we end up with 1/10. 22 over 80, let's divide by 2. They're both even. It's going to be 11 over 40. 11 is a prime number, so that's as low as we get, simplified as we get, and 10 over 80, this is going to be 1/8. Yay, we completed all of our row. Part C, convert each relative frequency to a percent. Round to 1 decimal percentage place. So we're going to take our 1/16th and we are going to use a calculator. So I have 1 divided by 16. Remember, we need to divide, and then we are going to convert to a percentage. So I'm going to take that value, and in a little bit you'll see me do it in one step. I'm going to take this value and multiply by 100. Or move the decimal places 2 places to the right, which is what I like doing. So we're going to divide. And this gives us 0.0625, and this will be 6.25%. Don't forget to use a percentage symbol, very important. Let's do 3 divided by 16. I forgot to round. I'm just looking at that. So this was 6.25. We are going to round to 6.3. All right, so this one we have 18.75. We're going to round. So this is going to be 18.8%. 1 divided by 20. This is exactly 5%. Now, don't confuse your rounding to 1 decimal place. Here, I don't change this to 0.1. Okay, I need to convert to percentage first, then round. Okay, so let's write that down here where it says round to 1 decimal percentage place. Convert to percent first, then round. That's what that means. Do not do it before. I'll keep reminding you of that. 1 divided by 5. So we're going to have convert to percentage first. That's 20%. No need for rounding. About 1/10. So this is 0.1. Convert to a percentage first. No need for rounding. 11 over 40. Oh, this one's pretty. So this is where I'm going to remind you. So we're going to do 0.275. Check it out. I'm going to first go to decimal. And if you notice, I didn't even have to round. Please do not change this to 0.3 and then call it 30%. You actually round it up to the tenths place, and that's completely wrong. You got to convert to percentage, then round. Last one, 1 divided by 8. Convert to percentage first. That's going to be 12.5. Do I need to round it? No, it's already at the tens place. Great. Our last step is to find the sum of the relative frequencies. We're going to find the sum of the relative frequencies. This is with the symbol. So these words mean this symbol. Okay, so you can read it or you can look at the symbol and they mean the same thing. This says the sum of, and then this part right here is relative frequencies. And how do you know? Like, are you supposed to know that f over n is relative frequency? No, it told you up here, right? So all of these things have been written out for you. All you have to do is learn how to read them. Part 1, sum the fractions and leave the answers as a simplified fraction. So your job is to sum 1/16 plus, and this is the same question for part 2. It says sum the percents and leave the answer rounded to 1 decimal percentage place. So in this section, you're going to sum our percent 6.3% plus 18.8% and so on. And make sure you follow the instructions of leaving part 1 as a simplified fraction and part 2 as rounded to 1 decimal percentage place.